35 kilometers, the distance from reality to either paradise or hell. The English Channel, which connects France and the UK, often seen as the dividing line between hope and despair, has unintentionally become the graveyard of countless dreams. How many aspirations for a better life and hopes for happiness from refugees can truly overcome the waves and the shattered reality of a so-called promised land? In today's video, Anywhere Diary will explore the story behind the adventurous pontoon boats of refugees migrating to Britain and whether they want to turn back after entering a chaotic country beyond their splendid cover. In the past 2 years, the wave of illegal immigration to the United Kingdom has surged to record highs, with most migrants choosing to cross the English Channel from France by inflatable boats or by hiding in refrigerated trucks carrying goods from Europe. According to preliminary data released by the UK's Home Office on August 12th, around 703 people arrived in the UK on August 11th aboard 11 boats. This was the highest number reported in a single day since British Prime Minister Keir Starmer took office, with a commitment to address human trafficking. Efforts to curb the arrival of small boats carrying illegal migrants to the UK were a key issue in the general election held in July. Earlier, French authorities reported that 2 migrants died while attempting to cross the Channel to the UK, bringing the total number of deaths on this perilous journey to 25 since the start of the year. During this period, the UK detected 18,342 illegal migrants crossing the English Channel, a 13% increase compared to the same period last year. The agency monitoring rescue operations in the English Channel said the boats often faced difficulties and breakdowns at the Grenay point between Boulogne-sur-Mer and the northern port of Calais. The water temperature off the northern coast of France is about 20 degrees, or approximately 68 degrees. According to James Grace, an official with the UK's anti-illegal immigration force at sea, the inflatable boats used to cross the English Channel are essentially ticking time bombs. 50, 60, even 80 people are crammed into these small, fragile boats, packed like sardines in a can. Without life jackets or lifebuoys, just one large wave or a strong gust of wind could capsize the boat at any moment, sweeping these fragile lives to the bottom of the sea. But what might surprise us even more is that this problem has existed for 30 years. And as conflicts, wars, and negative climate changes increase, so too does the number of people drifting at sea in search of a better life. Traveling by refrigerated trucks is no less risky, as migrants have to hide in sealed freezer compartments, facing the danger of freezing to death, suffocation, or getting caught at ports or border checkpoints. The world still remembers the case of 39 Vietnamese bodies found in a refrigerated container truck in Essex, UK, in 2019, and a similar tragedy in 2000 when 60 Chinese people were found inside a truck carrying tomatoes at the port of Dover, Kent, southeastern England, of which 58 had died and only 2 survived. But is risking everything to reach a promised land truly better, or is it merely an illusion? Let's look at the current state of the United Kingdom. The immigration crisis remains uncontrollable, and public anger and opposition are intensifying. The riots at the end of July are a clear sign of the long-standing instability in a country once known for its prolonged prosperity. The very last straw for the mounting tension, riots erupted throughout England, igniting fierce clashes among the human beings and regulation enforcement, casting a darkish shadow over the as soon as non-violent nation. Between 30th on the July and 7 August 2024, an envisioned 29 anti-immigration demonstrations and riots befell throughout 27 cities and towns within inside the UK, including London, Liverpool, Nottingham. Many of those have been violent, with contributors attacking mosques and inns housing asylum seekers. Known far-proper activists promoted and attended the riots. Over 100 law enforcement officials had been injured, even as responding to the unrest, which noticed loads arrested and charged. Several people have already been sentenced. The authorities mobilized professional public order officials on an extraordinary scale, cancelling relaxation days and changing shift patterns. These officials laboured over 40,000 shifts at some stage in the unrest, with a height of 6,600 deployed on an unmarried day. Over 1,000 human beings have been arrested for their involvement, with 796 human beings charged. It additionally stated that the police had recognised loads greater suspects in reference to the sickness, suggesting in addition arrests and fees will follow. This changed into the maximum massive sickness within the UK because the 2011 riots, wherein at the least 4,000 human beings had been arrested and 1,384 prosecuted. When those numbers soar and the desire to cross borders remains strong, despite the tragic stories of those less fortunate, we need to take a broader look at the global context at this moment. Prolonged conflicts in Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq have forced millions into refugee status, losing homes and loved ones. Additionally, authoritarian regimes, political oppression, and human rights violations in many African and Middle Eastern countries, along with worsening poverty, unemployment, and economic inequality, have left people with no choice but to flee their homelands in search of a new place to call home. Many refugees see the English Channel as a gateway to a new life. At its narrowest point, the Channel is a mere 35 kilometres wide, making it the closest doorway between mainland Europe and the UK. Maritime border control is often more difficult than land-based checkpoints, especially in bad weather. Therefore, they believe that can cross it quickly and easily, despite the ever-present dangers. Objectively speaking, the UK has attracted many refugees due to its relatively developed asylum system and international laws that protect refugee rights. Even after Brexit, the UK's asylum policies have retained many international protections, offering hope to those seeking refuge. Meanwhile, life in migrant camps, such as in Calais, France, is a living hell. Thousands of people are crowded into makeshift tents, lacking everything from clean water and food to medical services. The axe has now swung toward British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, despite him being in office for only a short time. Under Starmer's leadership, the UK government has maintained and even expanded its asylum programme. The Prime Minister has emphasised that the UK has both a moral and international obligation to support those fleeing war and violence. In reality, the recent riots in the UK stem from a complex web of issues, with the government's immigration policy serving as a strong catalyst. Since the 2015 refugee crisis, the UK has seen a sharp rise in the number of asylum seekers, becoming a primary destination. However, a major mistake of the interim government was placing asylum centres in economically struggling areas that were already burdened by weak public infrastructure. This ignited intense conflict. Cities like Rotherham, Liverpool, and Manchester have become flashpoints for the riots due to the immigration crisis and economic strain on these once thriving but now deteriorating cities in recent years. Objectively, these issues are not entirely the fault of the new Prime Minister Starmer, but his lenient approach to immigration, combined with the tragic incident in Southport, has brought long simmering tensions to a boiling point. With the added provocation from far-right groups, the riots spiralled out of control. Looking past, the 2015 migration crisis left a deep scar on the map of Europe. Though years have passed, the continent still hasn't found a unified and sustainable solution to handle the constant flow of migrants. Frontline countries like Greece and Italy, already overwhelmed, have become even more exhausted under the increasing pressure. This has created a domino effect, pushing migrants further on their journey to wealthier Northern European countries like Germany, France, and the UK. The issue of migration across the English Channel has become a tough challenge for both the UK and France. Despite several negotiations, differences in perspectives and national interests have made cooperation difficult. France accuses the UK of not truly sharing the burden, while the UK criticises France for not doing enough to stop the flow of migrants. This back and forth has dragged on for years, making the situation more complex and harder to resolve. To make matters worse, when migrants do reach the UK, most apply for asylum. However, the review process can take months, sometimes even years. During this time, they often lack the legal right to work, leading to unemployment and dependency on refugee centres or charitable organisations. If their asylum application is denied, they face the risk of being deported back to their home countries, where they could encounter danger or violence. In some cases, they choose to live illegally in the UK, enduring a life without documentation, legal protection, or rights. Notably, government budget cuts have reduced access to free legal aid services for migrants. The UK government is also dealing with multiple crises in politics, the economy, and society, making it even harder to address immigration issues. Amid protests, riots, and social division, the British government struggles to implement effective and humane immigration policies. This has led to a deadlock, with the asylum and immigration system overwhelmed and unable to process applications quickly. Migrants hope for a better life in the UK, but the reality is often different. With the ongoing riots and government weaknesses, they may not receive the full support they need from authorities, leading to continued hardship and rising frustration. Meanwhile, as more refugees arrive, tensions and opposition from far-right groups escalate to a boiling point. Votes from landing was a key issue in the July 4th election, where the Labour Party won by a landslide. Just days after taking office, Prime Minister Keir Starmer scrapped a controversial plan to deport illegal migrants to Rwanda, which had been a flagship policy of the previous Conservative government. Instead, Starmer pledged to dismantle human trafficking gangs that organise illegal crossings. In 2023, the UK government implemented several tough measures to curb illegal immigration. These included establishing a dedicated task force to combat illegal sea crossings, working with France and international partners to enhance surveillance and sea patrols, especially at migrant launch points, strengthening border controls with sniffer dogs and scanners to inspect trucks at all EU checkpoints before entering the UK, cracking down on organised human trafficking, and introducing new laws to deport illegal immigrants, either back to their home countries or to a third country. On February 23rd, the UK and the EU reached an agreement to share intelligence between UK border agencies and the EU border agency, Frontex, to secure borders and combat organised crime related to illegal immigration. The government also announced financial penalties, business closures, and possible prosecution for anyone employing illegal workers. Additionally, they pledged to add 290 beds to 2 relocation centres and reassign staff to expedite the removal of rejected asylum seekers, aiming for the highest removal rate since 2018. Thanks to these efforts, the number of people crossing the English Channel to the UK dropped by 36% in 2023 to nearly 29,440, compared to 45,780 in 2022. Along with France, the UK also prevented 26,000 attempted crossings in 2023. However, by 2024, this number surged again compared to the previous year, increasing pressure on the new Prime Minister to find quicker and more effective solutions, especially as global conflicts continue to show no signs of stabilising. Given the instability in the UK with protests, riots, and inadequate policies to control immigration amidst the unrest of its citizens, it still remains a land of promise and a potential destination for many immigrants. Regardless of how they arrive or where they come from, the fate of these refugees is not very optimistic. So what about you? What do you think about the actions and thoughts of refugees crossing the border to the UK? And what will the British government do next? Please comment below so everyone can know. If you found this video insightful, hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on our latest content. Don't forget to ring the bell for instant notifications. Your support fuels our passion for creating meaningful content. Thank you for watching.